All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Vortex Nation podcast. We are here at the Western Hunting Conservation Expo. I'm joined by my good friend, Remi Warren. If you hear a little buzz in the background, that's just high energy of folks that are excited about hunting. And Remi, one thing I'm always excited about is bear hunting. What we're going to talk about today specifically a little bit is spring bear hunting. A lot of it probably applies to bear hunting and maybe hunting in general, but some gear, some spring bear gear. It's going to be a spring bear gear primer, maybe some things that are just stuff you always want, and maybe a couple outside the box things, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that spring bear hunting, it's so much fun because it's like you get out, it's winter's over, you kind of get some good weather sometimes it's not, but you can get out, chase bears. It's a lot of fun. It's a great hunt. I love it. And there is some stuff that time of year that I really don't do any other time or on any other hunt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I agree with you. In fact, I probably talk about bear hunting so much, and I feel like I'm kind of like an outlier person, and I don't know why, and I should actually talk about spring bear hunting less because, I like to have the woods to myself a little bit. But like you said, you're shaking off cabin fever. You can be in the mountains hunting big game with a rifle, lots of states with over-the-counter tags. Like, What is not to like?
Yeah.
No, you're going to need some gear to do it, though.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I figured I kind of made a little list of some of the things that, I kind of think of and that are in my gear kit for spring bear hunting. That some of them are year-round, but these are primarily things that I really don't like to forget for a spring bear hunt.
Which I'm super curious because, by and large, from hunt to hunt, my kit is... It's kind of my kit. I mean, It definitely ebbs and flows, backpack hunt versus day hunt, stuff like that. But a lot of the essentials are just the essentials.
Yes.
So what? Hit us with it, man. What do you got?
Well, here's one of the things that is very, if you've done any spring bear hunting, or if you're used to hunting, maybe this is something that happens all the time year-round in other places. But for the West, this is a primarily spring-only phenomenon. And it's ticks.
You are correct.
Ticks are the worst part about spring bear hunting because in the West, we don't deal with ticks year-round. We deal with them in the spring. And we also have a lot of things like Rocky Mountain spotted tick fever. Of course, you've got your Lyme disease and other things, but ticks suck, literally. That's their job.
They are the seed of the devil.
Yes, they're horrible. And so there's things that I do that I try to not get tick sick, right? So,
which I'll say, I've had Lyme disease. A person that's super close to me, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, got super sick. Tick-borne illness is a very serious thing, and it can have long-term effects. So you do want to protect yourself against it.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's some of the things that I do, or some gear that I have. I use that. I guess I'll probably say it right. Permethrin.
Mm-hmm.
You don't put it on your skin, you put it on your clothes. I coat my clothes with it because it's just one added layer of protection to kind of keep ticks at bay, and I find that it does work. I used to not use it because I used to be all worried about, the bear, if it's smelling permethrin, it's smelling me.
It already has you, yes.
We're done. We've screwed up in some way, because I'll also kind of talk primarily my method for hunting spring bears is spot and stalk. Although I have hunted set baits and other things, I actually kind of think that when you're the one doing the baiting, it's actually more difficult than spot and stalk sometimes because it's so much legwork of getting it all, the spots and the whole thing. It's almost easier to just go out and find them.
The time and effort commitment
is huge.
Is off the charts.
If somebody else is baiting for you and you're just showing up, it seems very easy, but when you're the actual one doing the baiting, it's actually kind of a pain in the butt, to be honest. But, spot and stalk hunting, glassing, these are kind of the things for that. The permethrin, I use that. I would use that either way, whether I'm hunting a bait, if I was doing that, or spot and stalk. But it just kind of gives you that added layer of keeping the ticks at bay. Another thing that I like to do, I tuck in my clothes. So, I tuck my shirt into my pants. I've got a belt on. I sometimes will, wear gaiters or tuck my pants into my boots, something like that, where it gives less entrance for ticks to get in, like a little bit less barrier.
It gives you more time as they creep up your body and hopefully
Yes.
don't find that gap in your system
exactly.
to where you can flick them off or burn them and send them back to where they came from.
Yes, exactly. The primary killing method is like grab them and twist them in half, bite their heads off.
I was actually introduced to permethrin. This would have been back in, I want to say, probably 2006 on a Western bear hunt. And I'm telling you, like, we were just doing some initial scouting. We had just gotten out of there and, like, hadn't gone deep into the woods. Like, we were on some logging road systems. Like, I got out of the truck. I touched one plant. Like, I think there was, like, a dandelion in the road. And I looked down, and I had, like, 2 ticks on me. We got back to the room last night. It was, like, out of a creepy movie. The TV sucked in the hotel that we're in. It had, like, static on it, and there's a tick crawling across, like, the TV screen. And so we ended up talking. I was like, you got to get some of this permethrin. And it was, it's interesting because I've talked to a few folks. Like, they're like, yeah, I just don't think it works that good. Like, I saw it as like a night and day difference. Like, we were getting covered in them, and then you could like lay in the bushes, and they weren't getting on me.
Yeah, I mean, they'll still it's not 100%.
Right.
But compared to when I use it and someone else is with me that isn't, sometimes I'll go a whole trip and not really have hardly any ticks, like none on, and then they'll be picking them out of their hair constantly.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of it.
We're not liable for any of the long-term effects of permethrin.
Exactly. Right. I don't know. Is it a forever chemical? I don't know. I know nothing about it. I just know that I use it and I like it for that.
Really enjoy the short-term effects.
Exactly. Yeah. Short-term effects, great. The other thing in this list is also bug spray. So I also use like DEET.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I will put it like on the skin, like the areas around. So it's like wrists, neck.
Okay.
And maybe like wherever they might have access to my body. And a combination of that and then like the DEET stuff is good. Plus, there's a ton of mosquitoes that time of year. A lot of places. Like you can get, or like no-see-ums, like you get tore up black flies, whatever. So it's just a good way to keep yourself, bug-free, enjoyable with all that. And then even like if I'm going backcountry, maybe like some Sting Stop stuff. Have you ever used that? It's like an ammonia-based for like once you get bit by something. Like that seems to work pretty good for like mosquitoes and stuff like that. So that's in my kit in the springtime. I don't think I use that like unless I'm going to Alaska in like August. It's the only time that I really carry that stuff.
Yeah,
for like Western hunting. But it like changes your comfort level, substantially.
Well, and you always want to be vigilant for ticks, right? You don't want them. But also, like it frees you up because you're not at the level of you don't have to keep the level of awareness that you would if you weren't using those things.
Yes, like I say, my mind's playing ticks on me. Like where you're just sitting there thinking. I've had one time, like I'm sure people that live other places get this all the time, but it's not. This is a place I was in a place where they were doing a study for Rocky Mountain spotted tick fever. Like ran into them like on the trail up, and they're like, yeah, no, super high concentrations, like majority of the ticks here have this. And she was talking to like a biology student from a university that just happened to be in this canyon. Like, what are you doing, Bear hunting? Cool. That, like, they're like, yeah, we've been testing these ticks. They all have it, And I'm like, cool. And I didn't have any of this other stuff. And then I'm going up the trail. I was actually riding a bike in and then ditching the bike and then hiking. And when I got to the end, I picked over 100 ticks off of like inside my pants. I like just took all my clothes off, jumped in a creek, and like I don't want to be here right now. Like, especially that's in your head, and then the entire hunt, like you're bear hunting, you're glassing and sitting there forever, and you think, oh yeah, it was like the worst. So that, like, it actually makes you hunt better because you're spending less time worried about picking ticks off yourself.
Well, and like you said, there are some areas where like just the volume is such like I'm like, it's not worth it. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly. So some years is not bad. Some years usually like it's a massive crop and those like I said, there's a lot of areas where there's bears and like after talking to this biologist lady and then I was reading some more about it, like there's places you can go and if you get bit by a tick, depending on how long it's in there, I don't know the old gestation and whatever, but like it's a high likelihood that you could contract Rocky Mountain spotted tick fever, which is not good. And I know a lot of guys that have gotten it. They've been in the backcountry. They're like all of a sudden like super sick, and It's no fun. So
I will do a shameless plug, and there's a lot of really good information in it. A while back, we did a podcast on ticks and tick-borne illnesses with like an expert, and like it was like some really good information. So check that out on the Vortex Nation podcast.
And I'll check it out. That's perfect. So that's something. Spring, I think about trekking poles, like as another thing that I bring springtime. I like them because mostly I'm in like rock stuff. It's often for crossing streams, like because those can be dangerous, and it's just having like something stable. And then primary reason using it as a shooting platform, shooting sticks in those like sitting up positions. So I carry those. I don't carry those on every hunt, but I do like them spring bear hunting. Another thing that I always have, which I have in every hunt, tripod. But I think one of the things that like that's for glassing, but my big binos, my big glass, like that. Have it like I do 99% of my long range glassing through binoculars, spring bear hunting.
So when you're saying, big glass, big binoculars, are you saying like a 12 by 50, an 18 by 56?
18 by 56 is my preferred, or 15 to 18 preferred, but it depends like how far I'm going and what I'm doing, Like I think that most of the day you're sitting there looking and glassing, and so having that like both eyes open, glassing from a tripod, having that 18 is nice. And then I also have, the ability to put my chest rig, like my 10s, on the tripod as well. So varying different, wherever I'm like glassing to or from, will depend on what binos are on the tripod. And 99% of my glassing is through the binos. And sometimes I won't even actually bring a spotting scope because it's like, well, for the verification process of like what I'm looking for, whether, sow or whatever, you're going to be within that range anyways. So often the 18s are good enough for that. So that's one thing that I like to do is like I always have the binos. And then depending how far I'm going, I'll probably throw a spotting scope in there either way, because sometimes it's nice to like get that good verification at that range, or even if I'm by myself, like, use my like MagView Adept phone, bam, film. It's nice to know exactly where you hit that bear and where it went afterwards, like if you're by yourself.
Oh, particularly if you're by yourself.
Yeah, if you're by yourself, like it's like I generally won't even shoot at a bear unless I have some like verification, like so I can see the exact where I hit and how to proceed. Then I would say a glassing pad. I always have that for spring bear because you're sitting on like a lot of rocks. You're sitting for a long time. It's nice to be comfortable and whatever. So I like that. The one I use, there's millions. I think I have like an outdoorsman one that I've had forever. I don't know. I guess I don't even know. But you could just use a piece of foam pad. You could use your sleeping pad. I'd say like a solid core one that's not going to get popped. Like people take the inflatable ones, leave it at home. Like it's a waste.
It really is. It can be a game changer in comfort and insulating. You can double duty them. Like it's like if you are like camping or something like that, like even just like getting your boots on in the morning gives you a place to set your feet perhaps, or kneel down on, or I don't know, it keeps you a little drier if you don't have rain gear on and the grass is wet. Like it's nice.
It is. Yeah. It's a little just added comfort, but it adds to success because you're sitting there and you're more active and actively engaged in the glassing. Another thing that I always have, like some kind of, I use the Wilderness Athlete Energy and Focus a lot in the springtime because that like hot midday, you just get sick of focusing and looking. And you're like, I'm bored or whatever. And so some kind of caffeinated drink mix, give you a little mood booster. Middle of the day, keeps you going, whatever you like, whatever your brand is.
And I think it also kind of, at least for me, it because it tastes maybe a little bit better, it's a little bit more pleasant to drink, then I end up drinking more water, which is good for you also.
Yeah, and depending on what I'm drinking, I'm a big fan of like just OG water still, like one of the few on the planet now.
You're still using the classic?
I still use the classic, yeah. But like I always, like that midday, I'll drink like an Energy and Focus, and then or when I really, it's like I have that like super it's like kills that ADD a little bit, because you're just like, okay, I'm ready. I feel good. I'm not so tired. Long days,
Just a little midday bump.
A little midday bump. So spring bear hunting, long days.
That is true.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
is true.
Pace yourself in a way, but it's gonna be long days. So it's nice to have that, like, okay, I feel good and I can get through it.
Well, and potentially if you're successful, a long night
yes,
too.
Exactly.
A lot of those bears like to come out late in the day. I do think spring bear hunting, I know you and I have talked about this before, like I do think afternoons, evenings are the best, but I also think mornings get overlooked, because I think that can be really good too. But I also feel like you can burn yourself out if you're trying to do both.
You can burn yourself out. Yeah, that's what I kind of like. For me, spring bear hunting is like, I don't know the best way to say it. It's like semi-serious. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I do it serious, but like, I don't necessarily, like, I used to be like pre-sunup till dark and whatever, but now I'm more like, I feel like I shoot and see the same amount of bears or whatever. It's like, okay, I'll go out in the morning, glass the mornings. But I've also, like, the hard part is, if you really want to be successful, hunt all day, but you want to stay focused during that, like, daytime, whatever. Because I've shot. There's another thing, when it's really hot. It's a weird thing, but middle of the day actually is pretty good, because they're moving to water.
Okay.
And they'll like roll around and cool down. They don't like to be hot. So that's like a sweet strategy that I use a lot. Like, I've killed some of the bigger bears on hot days in like that 11 to noon time frame, which sucks. But mornings sometimes stay cooler longer. So if they're out in the morning, you've got a bear that's like, it's on a morning pattern. You have more time to find them. Evening bears are more likely to come out because they're edging toward the darkness, but there's a lot less time to make a play.
Right.
And that's like, sometimes you spot them in the morning and then wait for them to pop back out in the evening. But that's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole nother
techniques
thing.
And whatever.
Like you said, long days. So it's important to like you're talking about staying focused. And sometimes if you're burning yourself out, like you're not as focused during when you actually really should be.
Yes, exactly. Now, another piece of gear that is always in my kit spring bear hunting is like, I probably should have it all the time, but I don't forget it during spring bear hunting, is like latex or whatever gloves for the processing part.
Gotcha.
I think like bears can carry some stuff like trichinosis. I don't know if like can trichinosis transfer through bloods and hand, but like even then it's like you're eating your sandwich. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like for bears, and the major factor for me is the spring isn't as bad as fall, but like the grease factor on your hands and everything else is like, it just feel like cleaner when you've got gloves dealing with a bear. That's just predators. Like, I always make sure I glove up. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and it's kind of nice at the end of doing a bunch of processing to, not look at your hands and be like, should I just eat a sandwich?
Yeah, and like you smell that like bear on your hands all for the rest of the however long you're there, and then I guess like another interesting piece of gear I take, like if I'm doing like I guess it wouldn't even matter if I'm doing like a backcountry or whatever type of hunt. I bring like if I'm doing a backcountry hunt especially, but I always bring like a contractor grade garbage bag.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I'm in my tent or whatever, I don't go into my tent with like my clothes that I'm hunting with. This is a tick control thing.
Okay.
But like I put those in the contractor bag, I tie it and I leave it out in the sun, and it kills the ticks.
Really?
Yeah, with my permethrin and everything, like the heat in there, I don't know what it is, but like I've noticed that like you'll pull it out, you shake your whatever out, put it in there, and then pull it out, and like the ticks are dead most of the time.
That's a hot tip.
And like if I'm going into like cabin or whatever, often I'll do that. Or if there's like a dryer where I'm hunting, like if I'm in a cabin, got a dryer, like I'll throw the clothes in the dryer for like a little heat tumble, and it just fries them up. So kill the old hiders. Like
crisp them up a little bit.
This guy's got his tick management under control.
They're like, he's good. He's good.
He don't like them ticks. Like I used to really not like ticks, but I've had so many on me that they don't even bother me anymore. But I think like also I've developed these tactics which help prevent the ticks from infiltrating. So that's good. And then, I mean, the last tip if you want, like, if you're somebody that's like, hey, I want to really hunt hard, focus, don't want to have to worry about the ticks. My only other thing that you could do, if you did the permethrin, the bug spray, the garbage bag, would just be like manscaping. You know what I mean? Shave your head, shave your body. Super easy to find ticks that way. I don't go that far, but, I thought about it sometimes back in the day when I'm like, man, but for me, it's nice. Like I do trim my beard up and shave my head all the time anyways. So for that aspect, like I don't have to worry about ticks in my hair.
Just go into the field with that hairless cat vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Just freaking Dr. Evil's one little...
Right.
Like, all good, man. Don't have to worry about ticks then. And I think you do that, and you pretty much covered the spring bear gear, or like different gear.
There are a handful of things in there and a lot of it does pertain to tick prevention or whatever, best practices. But that really it impacts your hunt. It could impact your health. It's important.
It is, yeah. I've had too many friends that have just got like weird tick diseases and stuff that like pops up later, and then they can't figure it out, and it's like, oh, you got something from a tick in wherever. I mean, Africa even, like wherever, like just ticks, but especially even like spring. And it's only for Western hunters. We only have to worry about it certain small portion of the year, but in that small portion of the year, they can be ferocious because they've got a short life cycle and they need to latch, or even I don't know, is it the Lone Star tick that does the alpha gall syndrome and all that stuff?
Yeah, where you kind of like get allergic to red meat. Yeah,
that's a death sentence.
That would be like
that's horrible.
That's like the anti-reason that you were out there in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's maybe good strategy for people that deal with it all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's something I'm definitely way more conscious of. And really like spring turkey hunting and spring bear hunting are kind of like, a lot of this would apply to spring turkey hunting as well in a lot of places. But that's where some of these things that I do some similar things, learned a few literally hot tips from you with actually frying the ticks in your trash bag.
Or if you're at home turkey hunting, I mean, take your clothes off outside, put them in a bag, throw it in the dryer when you get. Don't put the bag in the dryer, but
right.
So like sometimes you could even like I've done this where it's like
you don't want to spread them.
Put them in your game bag, throw the whole thing in the dryer, let it run on a dry cycle, pull them back out. Like if you aren't going to wash, like I don't need to wash. You got the permethrin on. You don't need to wash them all the time. Like, no. I don't ever wash my clothes. Like you go what. I mean, I've been wearing these jeans for 5 days now. So
they're fine.
They're fine, It's everybody else that has the problem with them. Outside of that, it's all good.
Awesome, man. Well, cool. Definitely some really good information there. And, I mean, it's hard to believe, like, at least, right now, man, spring bear season is on the horizon. So get out there, stay tick-free, and use these tips and get some of this gear, carry it with you, and have a great time bear hunting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I like it.
Thanks, Remi.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.